What if I told you that 85% of the cheese that goes atop pizza in the Western world, including all the fast pizza restaurants like Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Little Caesars, all comes from the same place? Or even crazier, what if I told you that this grocery aisle that you're looking at right here is actually all brands owned by just 4 companies? And it's facts like these that are responsible for the general sentiment of people saying that quality, specifically at fast food restaurants, is going down, because food now just comes frozen from the same supplier and is shipped out to basically every single restaurant, so there's no more idiosyncrasies and uniqueness to go to a particular restaurant anymore. And that intrigued me, so I wanted to look into this a little bit further, do a couple of tests, and see whether or not it's true that the brands that own everything are actually ruining everything as well. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it even true, or are people just being hysterical? Well, we're about to find out, so without further ado, we have a lot to get to, so make sure you grab your popcorn and let's investigate. The first company we're gonna take a look at is called Leprino Cheese, which controls 85% of the cheese in the United States. In fact, they are dubbed the Willy Wonka of cheese. That's because they ship over 1 billion pounds of cheese every single year, and get this, these 4 chains, Domino's, Papa John's, Little Caesars, and Pizza Hut, the largest in the United States, all use Leprino cheese as their white mozzarella. So these cheeses that you think have different flavor profiles, and a lot of people have complained because they think the quality of these fast food pizzas are going down, they haven't necessarily degraded, they've just merged and integrated because they use the same exact cheese. And it's not just on the pizzas, because since they control 85%, they're also in Hot Pockets, Stouffer's Lasagna, DiGiorno frozen pizza, and Tombstone. So these guys are everywhere. So what I wanna do is do a blind taste test of the cheese itself, and then I wanna put the cheese on these different pizzas and see if it affects the change whatsoever, because in theory, it shouldn't. Which means that the true taste of these pizzas, since it doesn't come from the cheese, is either in the sauce or the breading. Or you could argue some of the seasoning, like for instance in the case of Papa John's. So first I wanna start off with a little visual test, because maybe this whole time I've just been blind to this. Maybe I just thought that all cheese looks the same. But if these look truly identical, then we know. Domino's pizza, these are all cheese pizzas. This is what a Domino pizza looks like. Papa John's. Wow, I'm gonna feel like an idiot looking at this. So far, exactly the same in look. Little Caesars. Okay, I must say this actually looks a little bit different, but it might just be cooked more. And last but not least, Pizza Hut. So just from the eye test, these cheeses all look a little bit different, especially these last 2, but I think that's just because the level at which it's cooked. Like the Pizza Hut one is undercooked, the Little Caesars one is overcooked, and then I think these 2 are probably cooked just right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of cheese off of each slice, and then I'm gonna conduct the blind cheese taste test here. I can't believe all of America has been fooled by this. Domino's cheese, Papa John's cheese, Little Caesars cheese, and last and certainly least, Pizza Hut's cheese. I'm also gonna wipe off all the sauce because I want this to be purely the cheese, because after all, that's a pizza. So the cheeses have officially been dried off. There's no sauce on them, there's no oil, it's just the cheese as you see them. Right now they're in order, so this is the same order as you'll see on the table. Michael's gonna shuffle these cheeses up, then I'm going to close my eyes, try a cheese, and then place it in the box that I think it belongs to. So if I go 4 for 4, it shows that Leprino's cheese is maybe a little bit different depending on the pizza, but if I can't get any right, or maybe I get a couple wrong, then you know that this entire thing is a scam. And you probably shouldn't be eating fast pizza. All right, I'm officially blindfolded, and Michael has now shuffled the cheeses. I've had all these 4 pizzas before, so I'm going to now try my best to see if I can discern which cheese belongs on which pizza. All right, here's the first cheese. Oh, it tastes like Chuck E. Cheese pizza. Oh, is this what the cheese tastes like? I feel like they usually mask it with the sauce and the oil and the bread. The cheese alone, wow. I'm gonna say this is one of the worst ones, so I'm gonna put this maybe on Pizza Hut. Next cheese, here we go. That actually tastes exactly the same. Oh, what is that? I take it back, this is the worst one. This must be Little Caesars. Here's the third cheese. Oh, I know my Domino's cheese. Actually, I don't know anything because this actually tastes like the first 2. Domino's. Just because of the way it's cooked. All right, and then last but not least, that tastes the same also. All these taste the same. Papa John's, I guess. All right, let's see how I did. I literally got all 4 wrong. That just goes to show that the cheese has absolutely no effect. Leprino cheese, a monopoly on all pizzas in the United States, they truly do all taste the same. You're not going crazy if you think the quality has degraded, because it's literally indistinguishable depending on like which pizza you get. Like there is absolutely no difference in them. One of the largest fast food conglomerates is called Yum Brands, and they own brands like Taco Bell, KFC, even Pizza Hut, amongst many more. And when you own an entire portfolio of fast food companies, you're more likely to start sharing different ingredients and menu items. So what we have here is Taco Bell's new nacho fries. And what we have here is KFC's new secret fries. Now apparently the same fries are used at each fast food joint, just dressed up in different ways. So I wanna do a complete side by side and see if we're basically getting the same exact fry in different fast food restaurants. So I'm gonna open up the nacho fries first. We're gonna take a good visual look at them, cut into them, kind of see what we're playing with in terms of the potato. And we'll do the same thing with KFC. So here are the nacho fries in the flesh. Looks like they have some sort of like Cajun, maybe paprika or something on them. I'll now do the same for KFC, who has their secret fries, which are going to be breaded differently, cooked differently, maybe like deep fried. So the visual, if you can tell, is not gonna be the same. That's on purpose. But I wanna look into it a little bit deeper. So I'm gonna do a taste test, but then again, I'm gonna look at them visually up close, and I wanna see if it really is the same fry. Because there's been a lot of complaints about the fries getting worse, or all fries are starting to merge in flavor. They all taste the same. Well, it's likely because they're using the same exact fries at many of your favorite fast food restaurants. So first I wanna just do a little bit of a chomp. These don't look to be too overly seasoned, so I think these are probably the best bets to take a bite out of. Okay, very underwhelming of a fry, but I'm gonna keep this in mind. It's hard to separate the flavor of this because of the way that they bread and fry it, but interesting. Now, if we look at the inside, the fries do look eerily similar. They're basically the same exact width, with the only real difference just being the breading. Now, it makes sense that Yum Brands is doing this because they own these restaurants, of course. Why not take advantage of it? But this isn't the only place where all fries have the same exact supplier. Because in fact, all of these fries in front of me from Popeyes, McDonald's, and Burger King all have the same exact fry supplier. It's from a company called Lamb Weston, and they're responsible for about 80% of all fast food fries. And then the other two fries that you just saw are made by a company called McCain Foods, which, get this, make 1 in 4 fries in the entire world, regardless of it being fast food restaurants. So stadiums, movie theaters, cafeterias, wherever you get your fries, there's a really good chance that McCain Foods is making them. Anywhere in the world. Now again, what these companies do is they have their own proprietary ways of how they make their fries. So McDonald's notably used to fry them in beef tallow, and then Burger King, it just makes terrible fries. And then Popeyes, in their case, they do the same sort of breading as a KFC, this Cajun style. But if we look at the inside of each fry, it's going to surprise you. Burger King, McDonald's, Popeyes. Now, if we get in real tight on this, you'll see not only do they have basically the same width and size, but even down to the coloring of the potato, it is literally the same potato. And this is all from Lamb Weston. So do all fries taste the same? No. But all fries do come from the same exact place, Lamb Weston. Spoiler alert, all the food you eat at restaurants isn't freshly made there. In fact, most of the appetizers, desserts, even a good chunk of the entrees at places like Applebee's, Fridays, Chili's, even fast food restaurants like Domino's, this food comes from one food distributor in the United States called Sysco. Sysco is the largest food supplier in the entire world that operates in 600,000 restaurants, bars, and other venues. So chances are, if you're eating at any random establishment, be it a movie theater, a stadium, or a chain restaurant like I noted, your food's probably coming from Sysco. I know it's disappointing to hear, but if you ever thought to yourself, wow, this feels like it came out of the microwave, it's probably because it has. In fact, there is an entire catalog online in which you can see the items that I'm about to show that these restaurants purchase. So one of the biggest examples of this is lava cakes, the molten lava cakes, chocolate lava cakes, whatever they're noted on the menus. Domino's has them, Chili's has them, Applebee's has them. They all have their own kind of lava cake, but it is the same exact lava cake, just varying sizes. And all of this comes from Sysco. Like, I right now can open a restaurant and purchase the same exact lava cakes as you see in front of me. Just to do a little bit of a side-by-side to show how similar the molten lava cakes at different chains are, I have one from Domino's, Chili's, and Applebee's here, and I'm just gonna show you that is the same exact chocolate cake. So here from Domino's, we have these mini lava crunch cakes here. At Applebee's, we have their classic molten lava cake. And then at Chili's, we have their chocolate molten lava cake. Now, they all have their own distinct shape because, again, Sysco offers dozens of different chocolate cakes on their website. But if we dive in a little bit, do a taste test, and just truly look at the contents within, it is exactly the same. So here's the inside of the Domino's one, here's the inside of the Applebee's one, and here's the inside of the Chili's one. Now, the inside of these two look fairly identical because they're more moist and they have like the actual molten lava coming out. It looks like the one from Chili's is dried out, so honestly, it doesn't look too similar right now, at least this one, but these two do look identical. And in terms of the taste, I mean, it's the same exact thing, just cut into different sizes, so I'm assuming the taste is gonna be identical. Okay, that's Domino's. Applebee's. Oh, it's so dry. And Chili's. You could definitely tell the moisture difference, but in terms of the actual taste of the lava cake, I mean, like I said, this is coming from the same place and it certainly tastes exactly the same. And when you do like 3 bites in a row of the same thing, it tastes like the same thing. Even down to the vanilla ice cream. I wonder if they both get their vanilla ice cream from Sysco, because this thing actually looks so similar. It has like that yellow hue to it that looks like super artificial. So here's the Applebee's one, and then here's the Chili's one. It almost looks like melted butter. Okay.
I feel like I'm being gaslit. It's like the exact same dessert. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing to see this because mentally, when I go and get a molten lava cake from Chili's, I think that's a great dessert, but I wouldn't dare to get that at Applebee's. So I've been brainwashed into thinking that these foods are different because of the menus that they sit on. So Sysco is a big supplier of desserts, but also they're a big supplier of something else, appetizers. So just to demonstrate the appetizer side, I got spinach and artichoke dip from Applebee's and Chili's. This is what they look like up close. Now they do their own garnishing, so this one has like extra Parmesan up top, and this one does like some sort of breadcrumbs on it. But if we dig a little bit deeper, all this is reheated spinach and artichoke dip from Sysco. So here's what they look like. The viscosity is gonna be a bit different because maybe Applebee's decides to put more oil in it or something. So again, they can make it their own, but at the end of the day, this is just supplied by Sysco, as are mozzarella sticks at your favorite chains, buffalo wings, and a whole slew of appetizers that most people think that it's just heated up in the microwave, but don't think that it's the same exact food being heated up in other microwaves from other restaurant chains. I think what's also hilarious is I was actually on the website Sysco looking for like large tortilla chips, and this exact bag with the exact chips that in this case come from Chili's were presented on there. So anybody can just buy and set up like a Chili's in their house, for instance, just using like the Sysco items. But it's not just Sysco, there's also a brand called US Foods, which is second in the world in terms of food distribution to restaurants. They're not as big as Sysco, but if a restaurant's not having a Sysco truck pull up every 2-3 days, they probably have a US Foods one, and it's the same exact thing. And just to prove it with taste, at least to some degree, both are pretty nasty. Also, Sysco, if you're watching this, I don't know why you make your tortilla chips this thin. This thing breaks just from like a little bit of pressure. All right, to wash all this gunk down, I have some of my Ollipops here. They now have their holiday flavors. Look, they have the cute Yeti cans. They have a new flavor here as well, crisp apple, as well as ginger ale and vintage cola, which are making the comeback. I think crisp apple goes down nicely with some spinach and artichoke dip. So let's open this up. And what I love about Olipop is that it's a healthy soda and it's a prebiotic. So all three of these holiday flavors have 9 grams of fiber and up to 5 grams of sugar, which all things considered is not that much. And 95% of Americans don't get the daily recommended intake of fiber through their diets. So drinking this, you can check off at least a little bit in your diet. That's why I love drinking it. I mean, I have at least 2 of the classic root beers every single day. It's not part of their holiday flavors, but it is my personal favorite. And I think of the holiday flavors, I really like the crisp apple. But again, they have ginger ale and vintage cola, which they brought back as well, which are some of the classic normal flavors, but in these very cute collectible Yeti cans. So if you're part of the 2/3 of Americans that claim to have digestive issues, then having a prebiotic soda like Olipop is definitely going to help aid your gut health. And then on top of that, which I think is the best part about Olipop, is the taste. And you can get Olipop at a ton of major retailers like Costco, Target, Walmart, and Whole Foods. So if you see it, make sure to get the holiday flavors. And you can get a free can redeemable at major retailers by clicking on the link here and entering your phone number. So make sure to get that. Let me know if you end up buying and liking the crisp apple. It's my favorite in the holiday flavor drop. With that said, we have a lot more food to eat, and it's not going to be as healthy and fun as Olipop, so let's get to it. The next brand that you've probably heard of that has a monopoly on chicken and owns all the chicken that you see at supermarkets and fast food restaurants like the chicken tenders is Tyson. But it's not even just the chicken, because Tyson also provides 20% of the US beef supply and 25% of the pork supply. And just to tell you how many different fast food restaurants they supply the chicken to: McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, KFC, Wendy's, Burger King, Popeyes, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and the list goes on. Thousands of other restaurants. And also chicken tenders at cafeterias, concerts, sporting venues, and all places around the globe. Tyson is basically the chicken giant. So I have here 2 new chicken tenders, McCrispies from McDonald's, and then the chicken tenders from Wendy's. Both of these are supplied by Tyson. They're gonna have different breadings and stuff. They are gonna look different because each restaurant wants to make it in its own way. But if you feel as if the chicken tenders kind of generally taste the same wherever you go, it's because they do taste the same, because they're the same exact piece of chicken. To show this visually, this is what it looks like at Wendy's. This just about looks like every single chicken tender I've ever seen in my life, which isn't bad, but it's definitely not unique. And then the McCrispy, because of the way that they cook it, actually looks pretty disgusting, not gonna lie. I've never ordered these before, but it kind of looks like a burnt finger. But if we tear this baby open, we are gonna get that Tyson meat. Look at that familiar chicken breast that you're probably used to seeing. And then in Wendy's case, very similar, different breading, but if you just go right in there, I mean, this probably came from the same chicken. They might be cousins. I do wanna try these because I've never had these before. So the McCrispy tastes like a normal chicken finger, and the Wendy's chicken tenders, different breading, but the chicken just tastes pretty standard. So next time you're in a grocery store, take a look at all the meat sections from poultry to beef to pork, and you're probably gonna see a good amount of Tysons. Heck, you might even have Tysons in your freezer right now. But speaking of grocery stores, that's where we're gonna find the brands that truly have a monopoly on everything, that own entire aisles and shelves worth of food items. Because yes, brands like Tyson, Sysco, and Leprino cheese are going to own a lot of the fast food supply chain, but let's go to a grocery store right now because it gets a lot crazier. The illusion of choice is really prevalent here in a supermarket because it looks looks like there's so many different brands around you, but here in the chip aisle, for instance, 1 or maybe 2 brands max control all the chips you see on these shelves. Let me show you how crazy this is. So here we have Doritos, right? Doritos, is it its own brand? Of course not. They are owned by Frito-Lay. Well, how about some Cheetos Puffs? Everyone loves Cheetos Puffs, but they're not their own brand, Frito-Lay. Well, Fritos surely can't, right? They're totally different. Fritos don't even look like normal chips, Frito-Lay. So Tostitos should be good, so let's go ahead and look at the scoops here. There's a whole bunch of Tostitos, and they're also owned by Frito-Lay. And this doesn't even consider Lay's, so all the Lay's obviously owned by Frito-Lay. Even Sun Chips, which no shot, right? And upon looking at the packaging, you don't see the Frito logo, but if you look closely enough, owned by Frito-Lay North America. So literally every chip you see is basically owned by Frito-Lay. There's very few exceptions. I'll show you a couple of them. So if you want to escape the Frito-Lay's matrix, you can get Hares, which is its own thing. There's no sign on the package of anything Frito-Lay, it's just theirs. And then we have Utz, which is their own brand, and then Cape Cod as well. So anything that's a little more like boutique feeling, like Cape Cod doesn't look like it kind of be Frito-Lay, but anything that's like marketed really well, in your face, vibrant colors, has like a bunch of quirky names to it, like that's probably owned by the larger Frito-Lay corporation. And this is just the chip aisle, so wait till you see what brands own other entire aisles, basically. Perhaps the craziest instance of this is in the water aisle. You're gonna see 3 companies own basically every single thing in this entire aisle. Let me show you how ridiculous this is. So here we have the classic waters, right? Smart Water, owned by Coca-Cola. They even have their own little thing here to showcase that they do own this brand. Dasani, which is Coca-Cola. They also own Topo Chico, AHA, and much more. Then there's Pepsi, who owns Aquafina, Life Water, and even Propel, which is owned by Gatorade, which is owned by Pepsi. And then Nestle, which owns Pure Life, Poland Spring, which is the top-selling water in all of the United States, Deer Park, and even Essentia, which is one of my favorite waters. Nestle also owns the #1 sparkling water, which is Pellegrino, which is bottled in Italy but then distributed by Nestle. And it doesn't end here. So Coca-Cola owns Vitamin Water, Powerade, Body Armor, and even Core Power Fairlife shakes. Protein shakes. So Coca-Cola has their hands in everything in this beverage aisle. And then of course there's sodas as well, which don't even get me started when we get down the soda aisle. Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and Nestle basically own every single thing you put into your body that's in the form of a liquid. Now we're in the soda aisle, and everything you see right here, basically with the exception of Schweppes, is owned by Pepsi. So I'm talking Pepsi itself, Mug Root Beer, Mountain Dew, Crush, Brisk, any single drink that's on this side of the store is going to be all Pepsi owned. And then going down here, starting here is where all the Coke products are. Coke, I think, has many more sodas in general, just because they're a behemoth of a company. I think they're about 2-3x the size of Pepsi, but they have everything from Coke to Sprite to Dr. Pepper to Fanta to Canada Dry to Dr. Brown's, and even into the A&W, I'm pretty sure. No, that's Dr. Pepper 7-Up, which, to be fair to them, they actually do have a good portion of the market as well, but they're like 10%, I think, of the total soda market compared to the other 2 guys. But this entire aisle is just owned by 2, maybe 3 companies. Even Gold Peak, which is one of my favorite iced teas, is owned by Coke. Heading down the cereal aisle now, and I think it becomes really apparent, like the monopolies of this space, because there's a ton of variety. I think there's about 30 different cereals on this shelf, but it's only owned by 3 companies: Kellogg's, General Mills, and Post. Let me show you visually what this looks like. So Kellogg's cereal, owned by Kellogg's. Frosted Mini Wheats, Kellogg's. Raisin Bran, Kellogg's. Rice Krispies, Kellogg's. Corn Pops, Kellogg's. Fruit Loops, Kellogg's, Apple Jacks, Kellogg's, and even Frosted Flakes. Now, General Mills owns Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios, Cocoa Puffs, Cookie Crisp, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Kix, Trix, Reese's Puffs, Lucky Charms, and even Golden Grams. So that's already like 75% of cereals, and then Post closes it out because they own Honey Bunches of Oats, Honeycomb, Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Pebbles, Oreo Puffs, Golden Crisp, and even some more niche cereals like Great Grains. So next time you're shopping, just make sure you're aware that you are giving your money to one of these 3 corporations. They make pretty good cereal though. And it's not just food products, because even down this entire aisle, which is like soaps, deodorants, things like that, basically everything you see is either owned by Procter & Gamble or Unilever. We can't go through everything because it's scattered throughout, but just here's some pictures of what each of them own. I know, there's a lot. They keep coming, because it's crazy. Still not done, and done. So this whole aisle is basically owned by 2 or 3 companies. Now, if you've ever felt that all fast food cookies or restaurant cookies taste the same, you're not going crazy, and that's because a company called Otis Spunkmeyer, which used to be the exclusive cookie dough supplier to Subway, has their hands basically everywhere. In fact, they own about 70% of the cookie dough market for all the restaurants that are out there. So in order to test this, I have a Subway cookie right here that is cooked by Otis Spunkmeyer, and then a Burger King cookie, which people have said tastes exactly the same as the Subway Subway cookie because of the fact that it is the same dough supplier. So we're gonna do a blind taste test, and I wanna see ultimately if the cookies taste the same, and then we're gonna bust Otis Spunkmeyer, because why do they have their hands in so many people's cookies? So here's what the Subway cookie looks like, and historically Subway cookies are known to be the best. These cookies are like S tier. I mean, just look at that. This thing looks amazing. And then we have the Subway cookie, same exact dough. Now, granted, the cooking process can be a little bit different, but I'm expecting this to have the same sort of like color grade, maybe thickness. Oh, I got two of them. That's nice. Thank you, Burger King. This is what the two cookies look like side by side. Now, upon initial glance, actually, they do look somewhat similar. I think the Burger King one is actually cooked a little bit more, so it's less doughy, but outside of that, I mean, even the chocolate chips look quite similar. And notably, Otis Spunkmeyer doesn't just make all the cookies at these restaurants, but also places like cafeterias, movie theaters, stadiums, malls. They have their hands everywhere. So I'm gonna give a little bit of a test here because I've never directly compared the cookies, to be honest. So here's the Subway cookie. Amazing. I think Otis Spunkmeyer Subway cookies are great. But let's give Burger King a shot because the price difference looks like this. So people ought to try Burger King because you actually get two of them. So there's more value here with Burger King. And I'm assuming the taste will be basically the same. Again, granted this is cooked a bit more. Let's blow this conspiracy wide open. Okay, definitely cooked a lot more. So the taste is a little bit different, but it does have the same bones. I mean, if we do a little bit of a close-up here, the consistency of these doughs is 1 for 1. It is the same exact consistency. The chocolate chips even look to be the same, I guess because they're in the frozen dough that's provided to these brands. So the only real difference is just a little bit of the thickness and then the way they ultimately cook it. But otherwise, these things are identical. So if you ask Burger King for an undercooked cookie, you would basically get the Subway cookie. Otis Spunkmeyer owning the entire cookie market. So I'm gonna try to do a blind taste test because I got to the middle where it should be a little bit soft and gooey for this cookie. So Michael is just going to shuffle them for me. I'm not gonna take a look, and then I'm going to bite into each, and I'm gonna see ultimately if I can tell which is which. All right, so he is shuffling them up. All right, my eyes are shut. All right, so I'm just gonna take a bite now, do a little bit of a blind taste test. Let's see if Otis Spunkmeyer has any difference in the way that they prepare the dough for these guys. Okay, tastes familiar. Very similar, but I could tell this is Subway, this is Burger King. All right, that was correct. Yeah, I mean, in this case, the cookies were just cooked differently by the restaurants, but I mean, in general, like if you get cookies a certain way at any fast food joint, if you get like a little bit undercooked at Burger King, it turns into a Subway cookie. You get this a little bit more heated up, it probably turns into a Burger King cookie. I'm sure McDonald's uses Otis Spunkmeyer as well. This brand owns cookies. This is like big cookie monopoly central, and you can certainly tell by a taste test. Now, you'll be pleased to hear that Cheesecake Factory is not part of that Sysco network in which they just buy everything online, just like the other restaurants you're seeing in this video. Cheesecake Factory actually has 300 dishes on their menu, and all of them are actually made in-house. So good job, Cheesecake. That's why Cheesecake continues to retain all of its quality. Interestingly, however, Cheesecake Factory Bakery is a subsidiary of Cheesecake Factory. They're the ones responsible for making all the cheesecakes, of course. And it turns out that some of your favorite restaurants that serve cheesecake actually just get their cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory Bakery. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go inside right now, order a piece of the classic New York cheesecake, and then we're gonna go to a restaurant, maybe Red Lobster or something, order their cheesecake, and do a little bit of comparison. Because I heard that many of your favorite chains, from Red Lobster to Olive Garden, are using the same exact cheesecake that you get here. Okay, so that's the original, so that's kind of like the New York style. Can I just have one slice of your New York style cheesecake? Cheesecake has been acquired. Now let's bust this matrix open. All right, we just got to Red Lobster, so we have our Cheesecake Factory cheesecake here, and then on the menu right here, you're gonna see their strawberry cheesecake bliss. I'm not gonna lie, from the initial picture, it looks very similar. This would be crazy. Okay guys, the Red Lobster cheesecake has just arrived. You'll see they dress it up with strawberries and a strawberry puree to make it their own, but from the initial looks of things, it very much does look like a standard Cheesecake Factory cheesecake, but I'm gonna pull it out and we're gonna do a comparison. It looks good though. And notably, the Red Lobster we're at is about 5 minutes from the Cheesecake Factory, so I wonder if the Cheesecake Factory you just saw literally just sends a truck here or an SUV and delivers a bunch of cheesecake at the beginning of the day. So I put the two next to each other. There's a couple of noticeable differences. So first off, obviously the strawberry puree, and then secondly, there's like a little bit of a cream on top of this one, because they're not 1 for 1. One is like a New York style cheesecake, so it's gonna be a little bit different than the strawberry one, for instance, but I have to say they look very similar. But how about the taste? Now, to do this properly, I wanna just get the cheesecake, so I don't wanna actually get the strawberry in it as well. I feel like it's gonna like mess up the test. So I'm gonna go for like the middle of this one first, which is our Cheesecake Factory one. Okay. Familiar, I know that taste anywhere. And now let's go for the Red Lobster one. It looks so similar. It might actually be the same exact thing. Wow. This whole time, sometimes I would just order a cheesecake at restaurants and I'm thinking like, oh, Red Lobster has such a good cheesecake. Little do I know, I'm just eating Cheesecake Factory cheesecake. I wonder how far this extends. Is it just at Red Lobster? How far does this conspiracy run? The next brand we're looking into that owns everything is Starbucks, because Starbucks coffee, specifically their coffee beans, apparently are the same exact beans that brands like Costco, which sell under Kirkland Signature, also sell. So we're gonna go inside of Costco and I'm gonna see ultimately if the beans that Costco sells are the same as Starbucks. So I have the medium roast Pike Place classic black coffee beans here. We'll go ahead, pick that up, then I'll do a taste test back at home. This would be an absolutely crazy conspiracy if true. They do have some Starbucks products here, so they're not completely hiding it. And it's right next to the Kirkland Signature breakfast blend. Interesting. All right, so here we are at the coffee. So Starbucks is notably right next to Kirkland. So we have the house blend here, and then we have the Starbucks house blend, both medium. Now on the packaging, there's not anything that basically states that it's roasted and made by Starbucks, but interestingly, both of the addresses are in the same area in Seattle, Washington, and I looked it up on Google Maps and it's about 15 minutes away from each other. So I think they do have some sort of like synergistic relationship in which perhaps Starbucks does ultimately roast and make the coffee, and then they ship it off to Costco 15 minutes away or whatever. So I'm gonna buy these two. They're both the whole beans. I'm gonna do a little bit of a taste test because I think like just the labeling transparency has maybe changed over the last couple of years, but just interesting that they're even putting them next to each other in the aisle as if they're not the same product. Let's give it a try. All right, we just got back. So I have the two coffee beans right here. I have the Kirkland Signature and I have the Starbucks here. Now, before we do a taste test, I wanna actually just visually see if the coffee beans look alike. I'm not a big coffee connoisseur, so I don't know if this is even relevant. But let's see what they look like, because I would think that they would look the same if they're coming from the same place, right? Makes sense to me. So let's dump out Starbucks. This is their classic medium roast beans, and they look like a nice espresso color. Very pretty beans, very aesthetic. And then when we get to the Kirkland Signature, let's see if they truly do have their own beans or they're being funded by big Starbucks like everybody else. Starbucks bean is right here, and then we have a Kirkland bean right here. I have to say, I can't tell a difference. Now, I do want to just say that a bean may be a bean, and a bean could just look similar. So that's certainly something that could be happening. Maybe the eye can't actually see the differences between the two, but there are differences. I'm not claiming to be a bean expert, but I am claiming to be a taste expert as a food expert. So I'm going to roast these up and give it a good taste test. But before I actually grind them up, I do just want to do like a pure taste test. I don't know if it's normal to like eat coffee beans like this, but this is the Starbucks one. Okay, that's disgusting. And then this is the Kirkland Signature one. That's also disgusting. I can't tell the difference, so I think we have to turn this into coffee. All right, just finished brewing the 2 cups of coffee. So this one is the Starbucks one, and this one is the Kirkland Signature Costco cup of coffee. The claim again being that the Costco coffee is just Starbucks coffee, just repackaged. So let's go ahead and see a little bit of a taste test here. I'm just gonna go back to back. The beans I couldn't really tell, but how about the actual coffee? It's not too hot, here we go. Okay, I don't know why people drink coffee. And then let me try the Kirkland Signature. I mean, I may not be the best person for this, but those taste identical. Those actually straight up taste like the same exact cup of coffee. Mike, you know coffee more than me, so you try this.
I'm not a big fan of black coffee. It's like all really bitter to me. All right, pretty strong, bitter. If I had to say that there was like one difference, it's the Kirkland's a bit more bitter, but like, I don't know, 80% of it's identical.
So it could be the same bean, just like somewhere in the process, Kirkland adds something maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
So it looks like the Starbucks coffee is the exact same thing as the Kirkland Signature. You heard it here first. It seems as if Starbucks is just the same as every single cup of coffee. So I wouldn't be surprised if Starbucks has a monopoly. They are big coffee in this space on every single restaurant or cafe that serves coffee. Makes sense to me. That's why all coffee tastes the same. But that's basically it, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more content, be sure to click here or click here. Otherwise, subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you next time. Peace.